When you think motorcycles, Honda is always a part of that conversation because some of these Honda bikes have just been among the best selling and among the coolest motorcycles of all time. And in today's video, we're going to check out Honda's personal collection of some of their favorite bikes that they have on standby. These are some vintage bikes that are the most special to them, so they're bikes that are worth seeing. Where we are right now is the American Collection Hall here in Torrance, California, where Honda has their American Honda headquarters. And what they've just done is opened up this little museum display here so that people can come check out some of the coolest, most iconic bikes and cars and even generators and power sports equipment that they've ever made. And this is open to the public. And they're even doing some cars, bikes, and coffee events here at this facility. And I want to show you a quick walk around of some of the vehicles that they have picked out of their collection, hand selected as some of the most significant bikes. And I got to start that off with my personal favorite. This is the NR 750. This is a hugely iconic and influential motorcycle. This design was born in racing, and they made about 300 of these for the street, so they are super rare. But what's really cool about this bike, well, you can see a little indication of it here at the front of the fairing. This is an oval piston motorcycle, so it basically has pistons that are morphed together into one oval piston with two connecting rods, 8 valves per cylinder. Because the race series that these bikes were being developed for, they required that you have no more than 4 cylinders, but they wanted to make an almost V8-like design, and it took them a long time to engineer this to actually work. But when it finally came together and those pistons weren't flying apart at high revs, these bikes were just beyond spectacular. And actually the horsepower per liter on this is comparable even to a modern day CBR 1000 because of how well engineered these engines were. And this is one of those examples of Honda flexing its muscles and how much money they can afford to pour into R&D just to prove a point. A really spectacular bike, this NR 750. There's so many cool things about it. And I actually have a picture of me sitting on this motorcycle when it was still in Honda's warehouse. I didn't get to ride it. If I did, that would have been life-changing because this is one of my all-time favorite bikes, but I did get to throw a leg over it, and even that alone was pretty cool. There's a ton of bikes here too. There's more than I can really cover in one video, so I would say if you want to see everything that's going on here, well, you have to come check it out yourself. This is also a 1990 VFR 750R, also called the RC30. These are also incredibly cool high-performance sport bikes. But we'll move on down the line just a little bit and show you something a little different from some of the cool sport bikes that are here. This is a CBX 1000. If I remember right, I'm pretty sure this was Honda's first street bike for sale, turnkey, with over 100 horsepower, about 105 horsepower and about 1,047 cc. But the most insane thing about this bike is that it's a 6-cylinder. It's an inline 6. So you see those 6 pipes sticking out of the front. One of these bikes coming at you, there's absolutely no mistaking what it is that you're looking at because of those massive headers. And the way that this one is spec'd out, it's a little bit more of a touring setup. So you do have a big front fairing and these hard side cases here. And I mean, this bike, you know, it's not necessarily the most practical design. This is a really wide engine. It's not strictly necessary to have an inline 6-cylinder, right? I mean, you can make same horsepower or more with a simpler engine design, but the way that these motorcycles sound wrung out is really pretty much like no other motorcycle. And if you haven't heard what these sound like, you have to go look up a video because it's really spectacular. Now, coming around the corner, also a little bit of a touring kind of setup. I mean, one of the most iconic, the Goldwing. And this was a super revolutionary bike. I mean, a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder, 1,000 cc here in the 76 model. And seeing one of these Goldwings in good condition with all of its factory parts on, it's pretty much unheard of. I mean, these bikes saw so many miles. Really, any one of these Goldwings that you're probably going to see out on the street has done enough miles to have gone around the earth a time or two. But seeing one that is this pristine here in Honda's museum actually makes you really lust after one. And I don't usually lust after gold wings, but especially in this turquoise color, that's really cool. Also, you know, not quite a motorcycle, but pretty cool little ATC here, super retro in this blue and white. And there's a few race bikes here. Cool looking CR750. I don't know anything about racing. If Alex was here, he would tell you all about that, but yeah, I'm not the racing guy, so sorry. Now I also have to talk about this. This is a CB750. This is another really special, iconic bike because this kind of changed the motorcycle industry in a big way when this motorcycle came out. Tons of performance, but paired with reliability, practicality, and it was a relatively accessible bike for a lot of people. So it was an unbelievably popular motorcycle when it came out. And even today, you can find a CB750 for next to nothing, which is why when I was about 16 years old and looking to get my first motorcycle, I went and bought a CB750, and I still have that bike. So these are really cool bikes. Even to this day, you can find them just about anywhere, and they're not very expensive because they've made so many of them. There are early models of these bikes called sandcast CB750s that had a rougher casting on the engine, and those bikes, the really early CB750s, they're worth a lot more money. You're looking at well into tens of thousands of dollars for a sandcast CB750, but if you're just looking for a cool, historically significant bike, you can get into a standard, regular CB750 for not a lot of money. Hey, look, there's Nathan. And then, to wrap things up, we have to talk about easily the most iconic motorcycle without any, I don't think anyone can argue against it. It's the Super Cub. This is the best-selling motor vehicle of all time. How could you say that this isn't the most iconic motorcycle ever? I mean, they've sold so many of these. I think it's like 100 million. It's ridiculous. I mean, this was the vehicle that really mobilized the masses of a lot of different countries. And what's cool about this particular 1962 Super Cub is this was the number 3 Honda sold here in the US. So you're looking at not only a historically significant vehicle, but one that is specifically very significant for Honda. So really cool to get to see all of these bikes here together in one place. Now that's just some of the basics. There's so much here that you would actually have to come and see in person, because if I tried to walk through every one of these motorcycles, well, for one, there's a lot of these motorcycles that I'm still learning about myself because there's a lot here. And two, that would make for like a 2-hour-long video. So if you want to see what they've got going on here, come out to Torrance, California. If you're ever around the LA area, it's a stop that's worth making because, again, this is open to the public and you can come see some of the coolest vehicles that Honda has ever made with 2 wheels and 4. And if you want to see some of the cars that are out here in the museum, we also did a video on some of those. And I couldn't help it, I talked about some of the bikes in that video as well. So go check that out too. And let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And let me know if any of you make it out here to see it. Anyways, that's all for this video, and we'll catch you all in the next.